Most important thing in every state is Caitlin Clark, at least in Midwest states, at least in the great state of Indiana. And this hit me yesterday. Wow. It hit a lot of people yesterday. The head coach of the Indiana Fever, Christie Sides, gone. She gone. Fired. A lot of people were complaining about Christie Sides. I thought, what the hell, man? You know, they went from a horrible team to a playoff team. They were an exciting team, a fun team. Caitlin Clark acted petulant. Sides wasn't afraid to step up and coach her a little bit, but I'm not there every day. But I was surprised. A lot of interest in this job, as you can well imagine. If I'm the Indiana Fever, I got to think about two people. Stephanie White is somebody that played and is a legend in the great state of Indiana. And then the great Kurt Miller, who has coached teams left and right, part of the Olympic team, a great coach, just let go in Los Angeles. He's been in Indiana, was a head coach of the Hoosiers for a little bit. But this was surprising to me. Now, I wonder this. I'm going to the chin on this one. If, in fact, we do the same with the WNBA that we do with the NBA, must we discuss Caitlin Clark's influence on this? Must we? See, LeBron James gets a coach fired, and you know what happens. Everybody blames LeBron James, whether or not it was LeBron James. I don't know. But we all immediately go there. Everybody will tell you Michael Jordan got Doug Collins fired. Magic Johnson got Paul Westhead fired. You know, it goes on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, I don't know how many different coaches have been in how many different places. But the truth of the matter is, we must ask the same question. So did the little gal from Iowa get the coach fired? A lot of people, if you're going to do it the right way, you're going to have to say yes, aren't you? So do we also do the same thing, and this is really unfair, but wait for it. Caitlin Clark, do we now do the same thing and say, hang on here, caller. Caitlin Clark, 1 year, one coach fired. Or let me ask you this question. You know, her coach in college retired after Caitlin Clark got the hell out of there. She retired. She said, adios, amigos. And she's available. And Caitlin Clark likes her. Wouldn't that be interesting? If there is one thing that could turn the general public off on Caitlin Clark, I would argue it would be if she becomes a coach killer. Now, understand, that's a stretch. Don't think she is. From all I have heard from everybody inside the joint, she ain't. But something happened somewhere, somehow. And the coach be gone. Here's the statement. We are incredibly thank you to Coach Sides for embracing the challenge of leading us through an integral transition period over the last 2 seasons, while also positioning us well for future growth. Yeah, really? All right, then. While decisions like this are never easy, it's also imperative that we remain bold and assertive in our pursuit of our goals, which includes maximizing our talent and bringing another WNBA championship back to the great state. I'm putting that in because it is a great state of Indiana. Coach Sides was an incredible representative of the Fever in our community, and we wish her nothing but success in the future. This is new Fever president of basketball operations, Kelly Kosproff. Now, Kelly is like a legend. Like, in Indiana, there are a lot of people that bounce from job to job. You know, when you're a woman, you get these jobs, you can never leave. She came back as the HMFIC of Indiana Fever basketball after being who knows where. You get a woman that's smart, isn't a pain in the ass. You get a DEI hire that's smart, isn't a pain in the ass, and she'll have a job forever. That's what this woman does. See, I got to side with Coach Sides here. Coach Sides came in, took over the worst organization ever. I mean, 2 straight number 1 picks. What, are you kidding me? And next thing you know, with Caitlin Clark becomes, let's think about it, the Rookie of the Year. First team all WNBA. Now, I have people call in my other show complaining, bitching, whining, and moaning that Coach Sides' rotations aren't any good. She's a terrible coach. Hey, I guess they were right. Look, kudos to the guy from Iowa that called my show and said that Coach Sides is the worst coach she could possibly be. My question was, what do you want her to do? Like, you're from Iowa. Is Caitlin Clark supposed to bring the ball down, dribble it until it bleeds, and then shoot it every single time? What do you want her to do? She's scoring more than any rookie, maybe other than Candace Parker. She's assisting more than any rookie ever. She's got the ball in her hands every single possession, every single time, and she and the team improved. But I was wrong. Apparently, I was. Apparently, the fans knew better. Because I'm telling you, this lady Sides was in a no-win position. These crazy-ass Hawkeyes, these crazy-ass cornbread Capacuties are angry as hell at any coach about Caitlin Clark. Nobody is good enough. Nobody, and I mean nobody is good enough. I sat there and I looked. I said, wait a second. I got to go through something. Hold on. They got better. She handled the ball to the point where she was scoring out of her mind, took any shots she wanted. Hold on. The center, Boston, showed up overweight, played her way into shape. Okay. Clark assisted more than anybody else, and it's the coach's fault? Now, I'm just going to tell you, you allowed a player named Smith, who's engaged to one of the women, that Mustard Carrington lady, Dijon or whatever the hell her name is, Carrington. You got that going on where one of the biggest, what's the right word, haters, rivals, nemesis of Caitlin Clark, this Carrington lady, cheap shot Dijon, is married or engaged or whatever to your power forward. Huh? And it's the coach's fault they couldn't get a W? It's the coach's fault they didn't go farther and got swept, but swept is relative. 2 games on the road in the playoffs. What? You play a 3-game set, first 2 on the road at the lower seed. How you going to win that one? But anyway, I feel bad for Coach Sides because one of the things that you have to understand, and I got this from somebody that wants the job, it's the most high-profile job in the league. It's simply the most high-profile job in the history of the WNBA because you've got the number 1 player in the history of the WNBA. That's what you got. And now people are paying attention. Look, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. And I'm telling you right now, the only thing, the absolute only thing that can make the public go against Caitlin Clark is if she becomes a coach killer. And she's off to a start of being what? A coach killer. 1 year, 1 coach, that coach gassed. I don't know, man. Would you want the job? Absolutely. That'd be the most fun job in the country. Listen to everybody bitch, whine, and moan about what's going on with your team is always fun. You want it to matter. You want the Heat. I got to go one of 2 people. Stephanie White, former Purdue legend, current WNBA. I don't know if she was coach of the year. I don't think she was. Or the great Kurt Miller. The great Kurt Miller, I'm just telling you. Be good choices. Both can handle it. But don't become a coach killer, Caitlin Clark, and all you little fan girls and boys out there. No, don't do it. Because we don't like them. We don't like somebody that becomes a coach killer. All right. Yesterday, this is so funny. This is so great. Yesterday at Madison Square Garden, MSG, the world's most famous arena. That's right. There were massive crowds for Donald J. Trump in Madison Square Garden last night as the streets of New York were packed with MAGA hats as far as the eye can see. And people have been lining up since Saturday night. It's a new era in deep blue NYC. Here's let me give you a little VO. Look at that. Man, oh man, I don't know. Look, I'm not calling for nothing. That's not my style. And if I did call for something, who would listen to me anyway? But I got to tell you, if Trump loses and everybody thinks there's something going on here, this could be interesting. NYC welcomes a powerful lineup of speakers at Trump's Madison Square Garden rally. Look at all this. This is insanity. Just to do what? Look at the lines outside. People are becoming less and less afraid to wear their MAGA hat. Airlines don't like it. Crazy-ass liberals hate it. They're screaming. They're yelling. In fact, yesterday, I don't know how many of you saw this, but there was a little kid, literally like in a stroller, being yelled at by some crazy-ass liberal lady. Look at all these MAGA hats. Man, the world is a-changing. Every time Kamala Harris, every time that she starts speaking, people are drowning her dumb ass out. Every time they talk about the party of the rich is the Republicans, I go, wait a second, didn't we just see Cuban, a billionaire, Beyonce, a billionaire? What are we talking about here? Now, real people, real Americans, we understand. We don't get influenced by the nonsense. Hell, you know what's even weird about this? I'll tell you what's even weird. New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Eric Adams is hitting back at New Yorkers and people all across the country, i.e. liberals, calling Trump's rally a Nazi rally. What are you talking about, Nazis? Every presidential candidate, including Mitt Romney, was called a Nazi going back to Reagan. Now, seriously, you got to come up with new material. Like Nick and I can't come on the show every damn day and bring you the same stuff. We got to keep it fresh, baby. If everybody's a Nazi, every single presidential candidate, are they really Nazis? I mean, really? Or is that just a name that we're going to use? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. All I know is, damn. All right, here's Eric Adams espousing how, the world of calling everybody Nazis is full of ish. Here he is.
You know, I have been had those terms hurled at me by some political leaders in the city, using terms like Hitler and fascist. My answer is no. I know what Hitler has done, and I know what a fascist regime looks like. I think, as I've called over and over again, that the level of conversation, I think we could all dial down the temperature. And I've heard people say that the former president should not be able to have a rally in Madison Square Garden. I strongly disagree. This is America. This is New York. And I think it's important that we allow individuals to exercise their right to get their message clear to New Yorkers. And our job as a city and as a police department is to make sure they can do that in a peaceful way. I think that we must be extremely cautious. The heat we turn up today, pre-election, is going to have to be the heat we're going to have to govern it. And I think we need to show a level of respectable communication. And so when people called me fascist and other terminologies, I didn't like it. And I don't think it's fitting to anyone to state that the former president is equal to being Hitler.
Yeah, I mean, that's common sense, right? I mean, isn't that just simply common sense? Aren't we, just actually, let me stop because I wrote this down. This goes back when we were at least civil in the political realm. Now, let me just explain what I mean by that. There's a legendary debate between Dick Cheney and Joe Lieberman where they sat at a table and just discussed issues. If you go back and look at even Clinton and others talk about immigration, it's very in the middle. Yeah, we should have immigration. Sure, we love the fact that we have diversity in our communities, but it's got to be done the right way. Now, Eric Adams is absolutely bringing us back to a time when everybody didn't act like idiots and lose their minds over the slightest thing. Let me show you losing your mind. Dylan, throw that picture up. This is a little kid. And when I say little kid, sitting in a stroller, and this woman is yelling at her. See the lady in the black shirt, the African-American lady? She eventually has to pull this young crazy woman off of a child. Now, I'm going to say it again. If you look at who she's yelling at, and this is perfectly in context, this is not at all taken out of context. This woman, is yelling in the face of a little girl in a stroller. Honest to God. Now, these are the worst people among us. These liberal white women. They are legitimately the worst because they can't think for themselves. They're so inclined. And it's all about abortion. The craziest women all want to have babies killed. I don't. You may. That's good. Whatever. But all I'm saying is, God dang, at least, I said this about Donald Trump. He did not drain the swamp yet, but he sure the hell has exposed the swamp. There aren't any of us anywhere that are going to listen to anybody, nobody on the left, tell any of us they are the party of tolerance. They are the party of joy. They are the party for the people and inclusion. That went out the window a long time ago. In fact, I'll tell you when it went out the window, when I saw this kind of thing back in 2020, night before the election, 2 nights actually, Indianapolis was being boarded up. I asked a city official, why are you boarding it up? You know what he said? He said, well, we know what happens if Trump wins. There's going to be riots. Trump didn't win. There were not riots. Why? Because conservatives are human beings. Women like this aren't human beings. They're farm animals. And hopefully the internet, hopefully the intranet never dies. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. I'm wearing this Indiana shirt for a reason. It's time again to break down this week's OutKick Top 12. Our beautiful panel of OutKick voters, which includes me, decided who they believe earned their place in the top 12. Top 12 teams heading to college football. Let's start off with the top 12 rankings after Week 8. We're already in Week 8. That's unbelievable. That's astounding. All right, let's see it. Here we go. Week 8. Bump-a-da-ba, bump-a-da-bump-a-da-ba, bump-a-da-ba. I'm stalling. There it is. Presented by Hims. Is that right or no? Yeah, I don't know. Uh-oh, we're having to take a look. Well, I'll tell you this much right now. See, my Indiana Hoosiers, Washington came in, played pretty good, went back and forth, but once again, the Indiana Hoosiers won by double digits. The Indiana Hoosiers have won every game by double digits. The Indiana Hoosiers, if they were an 8-0 SEC team, they would be in the top 5. But I will give people credit for not putting them in the top 5. Look, I am as big an Indiana fan. Pat McAfee did an unbelievable job. Game day was off the chain. Yo. But the truth of the matter is they really haven't played a difficult schedule. I mean, when you're back-to-backs that people think are tough for Northwestern and Maryland, and then even Nebraska, who did play the brakes off of The Ohio State University. Yeah, I cannot believe that Indiana is 8th. Oregon, Georgia, Miami, BYU, those are the winner of the conferences. So they get the top 4 spots. BYU was actually an underdog to Central Florida. I bet that like it was my job. Now I don't even need a job anymore. Penn State next, good win. Really good win. Actually, going into Washington. Texas didn't look great in coming back and beating Vanderbilt. Ohio State, lucky-ish, tough, down to the wire against Nebraska, a team that Indiana, who, by the way, is sitting there 8th, beat the dog out of. That's right. Indiana beat the dog out of Nebraska 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is from now. I actually bought tickets. My bus is going the 23rd of November to the Shoe to watch Indiana give the second darkest day in Ohio State history while whooping that ass. Yo, Texas A&M, really nice win. Nothing wrong about it. No, I ain't mad about it. Nope. They did a nice job. They beat LSU. You know I like LSU. Tennessee, Nico Noko, everybody here loves Tennessee. Notre Dame looked great. In 6 turnovers is what Notre Dame forced. How about that? 6 turnovers. Wow. And in Boise, got about 150 yards from the running back. He was aight. They beat UNLV. UNLV made a couple goal line stands, and here's how the playoffs would look. Indiana, Texas A&M, tough road. I ain't mad at it. Wherever that game is, I'm telling you, bosses, right now, I am going to that game. If Indiana is in the college football playoff, I'm going to that game. I want a media pass, and I'm not shutting up about it. I don't like this for Indiana. I would like to see Indiana move into the 5 spot. The 5 spot's where it's at. 5 versus 12, and then BYU. You kidding me? That's the spot. Penn State looks pretty good. Indiana and Penn State do not play against each other. Ohio State and Penn State do. It's a whiteout at noon. That's too bad. Notre Dame, Tejas, both are playing really well. Notre Dame's playing the brakes off of people. They really are. I know that Northern Illinois game is probably, if not, well, absolutely the worst loss of any team on here. But damn. Tennessee and Ohio State. I'm anxious to see how Ohio State rolls. If I'm Ohio State, I don't like this draw. This is a tough draw. This is the toughest draw that there is, both for Tennessee and for Ohio State. So anyway, there's the top 12 right now. Isn't it great to see Indiana in there? I'll answer that for you. Yes. Here's how the voting went down. Clay, I don't know what he's looking at. I have no idea. Clay doesn't have Indiana in there. Trey doesn't have Indiana in there. Chad doesn't have Indiana in there. Coach Miles, Coach Tuberville don't have Indiana in there. I mean, Janine Edwards, thank God, we got to get her on. And I don't know what Coach Holtz is looking at. I don't know what any of you are looking at not having Indiana in there. But it seems to be at least a consensus except for the 2 SEC coaches, Les Miles and Tommy Tuberville. Everybody else has got Oregon number 1. Kelly Stewart does have Georgia in there as well. Everybody seems to have BYU except, well, Ricky Cobb's got Iowa State. So does Kelly Stewart. Kelly Stewart, you're interesting. I'm digging on you. Jonathan has the U 4th. Yeah, I ain't mad at that either. But he can't have – how did you guys let Jonathan get 2 Big Ten teams in the top 4? Explain it to me, Spanky. I see a flaw. Jonathan got to have 2 Big Ten teams. Then I want to have 2 Big Ten teams. What are we doing? What's going on here? I don't like it. I don't like it a bit. Anyway, long story short, pretty good. No, actually, really, really good. That's the only poll that matters. That's the bracket if the season ended. Look, don't at me about Indiana. Now they got to go to Michigan State, who I thought looked horrible against a mediocre Michigan team. You know, Ole Miss got Oklahoma. Brent Venables is still running stairs. We know what Illinois did for previous weeks. Got kind of hot, but, man, they went out to Oregon, got that ass whooped. Bama looked like Bama again. Number 25, Mizzou, got that ass whooped. The Notre Dame game the Ohio State game was good. And a word, if I may. Nick, back in the day, I told all of you amateurs, I told every one of you amateurs that Nebraska, yeah, they got off 28-0, but Deion Sanders' team was better. Deion Sanders' Colorado team in the second half looked like the better football team, Nick. And I don't know about you, but they're already bowl eligible. 34-24, Nick. You poo-pooed it, didn't you? You said they sucked. You argued with me, didn't you? I think you did.
Well, the only reason I argued with you is because my colleague over there, my friend over there, is a Buffs alum. Yeah. So I like to mess with him a little bit and say that the Buffs are ass. But I just got slapped in the face. Once I realized they were bowl eligible, they're the real deal. I'm not arguing. I'll eat that L any day of the week. Go Buffs.
Yeah. Yeah, we got two Nicks here, Nick C, Nick F. Nick F somehow, somewhere made it out of the marijuana capital of the world, Boulder, Colorado, with his brain still intact. And every freaking weekend he's celebrating. I think he's got, pom-pom, short skirt, and he does a dance every time Colorado at midnight or at 2 a.m. finishes off a game. But, hey, I will tell you, man, I am not mad even a little bit at Colorado. They're pretty good. They're really good.
They're making football fun.
I mean, don't at me.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, they do. That's right. They make you want to watch that 10 o'clock game against Cincinnati. They do. I don't care. I like it. All right, back to President Trump. Greg Popovich and I are from the same hometown. One of my good friends in coaching was actually Greg Popovich. Popovich was his student teacher. Popovich and I go way back, and I really don't understand the whole deal about Popovich and Donald Trump. Like, I get it. Popovich is trying to be cool and down with players. I get all that. We all get all that. I mean, right? You got to act like a liberal. But I'm telling you right now, I don't think even those players of the NBA would vote for Kamala, whatever the hell her name is, Harris. I don't think they would. So here is Greg Popovich, the old ball coach, on Donald Trump.
So he's pathetic. He's small. He's a whiner. We all know that. But you wouldn't have him babysit your kids. You wouldn't hire him if you had a small business. You want that man in your business? There's no way. But we're going to vote for him for president because he's strong? I mean, Kamala Harris whipped his ass in the debate, just obviously, and he's running ever since. He doesn't want any part of her because, as she said before, she's eaten many of his type for lunch. As an attorney general, as a prosecutor, he's a small fry compared to some of the people she's gone after. And he knows it. So all he can do is cut people down, and do what he does. We've all seen all that kind of stuff. The ones that you can be even more angry about, because he's sick. He's a damaged man. He grew up the biggest wannabe there ever was in New York, right? We all know that. He wanted to be in the inner circle, but they laughed at him his whole life. Just like Obama made fun of him at that dinner, and he was about to melt. That angered him so bad, it was scary. But he was never accepted. He was treated like a fool, like a clown. And now he's able to just give the finger to the world because of his position now. And that's what he's doing. He's getting back at everybody because he's so small, he's got to go after everybody, just like we all know the generals and Mike Pence and all that. We've all heard that before. But those people around him, the Grahams, the Cruzes, the Hawleys, the Meadows, McCarthy, McConnell, all those guys, all older white men, which so happens to be, they know he's an ass.
Wait, so Popovich, an older white man, is criticizing, calling people names, and he's criticizing by calling people names. So he's angry at Trump for calling people names. Now, look, I have no idea whether or not people laughed at him, but I do know this. That dude's done okay. I mean, he got his name on some big-ass buildings in some big-ass towns, including right downtown Chicago, right downtown New York, right downtown Vegas. I mean, I'm all for you, Pop. I mean, I get it. You wear your little thing. You look like a deranged homeless man. And you do what? You do what? You didn't say anything of substance. You didn't say anything about policy. You did what a typical white woman does. You do. Popovich did what a typical white liberal woman does. Stood there in front of a fawning audience, or in his case, sat there in front of a fawning audience, said a bunch of bullshit without any evidence of any of it. There's no evidence of any of what he said. The evidence, actually, that Trump wasn't made fun of, that Trump was taken serious, is the variety of Trump towers all across the country. I mean, hey, look, we get it. Popovich went to the Air Force Academy. Didn't serve nothing, but anyway, became a basketball guy. He's now in the bourgeoisie, $1,500 bottles of wine, $2,000 dinners, that kind of thing. All right. And because he and Steve Kerr coach a bunch of African-American dudes, he gets and wants to and almost has to sit up there as his career has gone downhill. And frankly, he's got to make fun of people without evidence. Let me ask you a question. Has Popovich and San Antonio had any relevance since he lost Tim Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, and Robinson? The answer is no. But because when he was with them, or they were with him, they were good, he's become a guru. He's become a sensei. Pop knows. What does Popovich really know? What did he really say there that gave any evidence to what he was actually saying? Understand, anybody could say, oh, he's a buffoon. I would argue that everybody that played at Junedale Little League going back years and years and years thought Popovich was a wannabe, couldn't play. I mean, those of us from Northwest Indiana that could play didn't go to Air Force, went to Indiana. We went to Purdue. Petey Turgovich went to UCLA. Junior Bridgman went to Louisville. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Popovich knows, I guess, about wannabes because that's what he's always been. Popovich has always been a wannabe. Never good enough to do anything. Then he caught lightning in a bottle. He kissed the ass of an owner, finally got himself a job. Hey, luckily they had the first pick a few years in a row. Won, but has he been any good without those guys, pre and post? Of course not. There's the evidence. Like if you want evidence on somebody being horse shit, look at Popovich before Duncan and those guys his entire career, and look at Duncan or look at Popovich after. Now that's a wannabe. That's horse shit. But nobody's going to say it because of the headline you just saw. Pop, I'm embarrassed as a white guy. Oh, shut up. You grew up in Maryville, Indiana. All you know is white guys. Jesus. There's a great picture I got is Popovich flipping off on his little team picture at Junedale Little League. True story. It's a team picture. Guy sent it to me from 100 years ago. Popovich giving the middle finger, in the team picture in Little League. That's a wannabe. Tough guys don't do that. Come on. Always been a wannabe, will always be a wannabe, and wannabes calling out other wannabes. I'm kind of doing the same thing. I always wanted to be in the NFL or NBA. But honest to God, those of us from Northwest Indiana, we know. Popovich is full of shit. As I said, guys that could play, we went to Indiana, went to Purdue, UCLA, Notre Dame. I don't even know Notre Dame. Louisville. Didn't go to Air Force. He actually brought a guy to Air Force and taught him how to flunk out at the end so he could avoid doing the 5 years. This is all alleged. Bob Djokovic, who became the head of USA Handball. I'm just saying. Man, you get tired of these guys. Just like people are probably tired of me. What are you going to do? Shaq's catching heat. Shaq ain't catching no heat. Shaq made a comment about lowering the rims and pretty girls dunking is something he would watch. They should lower the rims. The ball is smaller in women's basketball. Why wouldn't they lower the rim? He insinuated that Reese should wear little-ass shorts and dunk in them, claiming they would be put, Claiming they would be put on a shirt and sales would blow up. Of course, everybody's mad at Shaq. No, they're not. Shaq and Barkley. No, you're going to act mad, but what are you going to do? Give him another commercial? We're so mad at Shaq, we're going to have him replace Danny DeVito in Subway commercials. That's how pissed off we are at Shaq. Here's Shaq.
Bro, imagine you in
I'm not imagining.
Let me finish. Imagine you in the same little shirt you had on at the Wild and Out show, Duncan. You know how many T-shirts you going to sell, cuz? You tripping.
Oh, my God.
What?
Oh, God.
Them same little shirt you had on.
Okay, all right.
Bro.
I'm just saying. I mean, Shaq thinks he don't think you can say anything, Shaquille. Be careful with that. Here's some reaction to it. Here's a couple screenshot reaction to it. I don't see the problem with what Shaq said. Angel Reese carries herself like a sex symbol instead of a respectable professional athlete. So as a result, that's how she's going to be treated. It's really that simple. I'm in on that, Greg Foreman. You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. She wears stuff, her ass is hanging out. Next thing you know, she'll get a boob job. I mean, that's what she's doing. Look, Caitlin Clark, I've said it, handles herself like a woman. All of Shaq friends that have daughters. Yeah, well, it is creepy. But what are you going to do? I say they give him another freaking, you got to give him another. Got to give him another commercial. He doesn't have enough. Hey, Nick, this is unbelievable. Tyreek Stevenson apologized after he was caught celebrating and taunting during the final play of the Bears-Commanders game, which ultimately ended up in a miracle victory for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, winning on the last play of the game. Let's show. Here he is celebrating before the play. The play is going on. And bottom left of this picture, this idiot doesn't know the play is going on. That's how dumb this idiot is. That's how foolish this fool is. He's taunting. His back is turned. The play is going on. Nick, what are we doing, Nick? Tell me, Nick. Help a brother out, Nick.
That's so piss poor. Like, if that were me, I would probably get cut from the team, like, instantaneously. Line drive, and it just goes right past me, and it goes over where my glove should be. I'd be railed. Not just by
unbelievable.
Coach, but by my teammates. My teammates would hate me for the rest of my life. Especially
here's the deal. So
too.
Here's his apology. And nobody cares about what would happen to you. What you think about this play? I mean, why you young guys always make it about you? Nobody, of course you would be. But what about to Chicago and my teammates, my apologies for the lack of awareness and focus. This game ain't over till the zeros hit the clock. Can't take anything for granted. Notes taken, improvement will happen. Nick, I get the improvement will happen, but this should never happen in the first place. This should never happen, Nick. Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
Happen at all. I think it's.
I blame all you young
way
people.
Too cocky. He's just way too cocky and overconfident. He thinks that the game's over, but the game's not over until he's right there. Game's not over until the zeros hit the clock. It's just on him. It's really bad.
Hey, Nick, you just sent me a shirt. Stephen A. Smith. Why Stephen A. Smith wearing tidy whities to vote? What's he doing? What is that about, Nick?
He looks like a total clown. He could have chosen anything else to roll with on his body, and instead he chooses a schmedium to go vote. I think he probably thinks he looks jacked. That's the problem. He thinks he looks yoked in that, but really, he's just a little too much in the belly area.
Oh,
I'm totally against that.
No, I'm so come on, people. Come on. I got more headlines when we come back, including Victor Cruz. Maybe Nick will tell us about his grade school game and what he did or didn't. Nick, by the way, I must say this. That beard still looks great. I don't know where you were on Friday, but it was such an incredible disappointment that you didn't have that hat on with that beard. I mean, honest to God, Nick, did you meet a new friend this weekend by chance because of that beard?
Nah, I was working all weekend. No friends were made.
All right. Hey, that bar you work at's awesome.
Isn't it fun? It's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
The atmosphere is insane.
Man, really I was showing my wife. I'm like, we might have to go to New York and hang out. What World Series back again tonight, this time in New York. Are you working tonight at Billy's?
Tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night. Well, depending if they make game 5.
Yeah. Man, that place looked like a blast. Place went nuts. They showed it on TV, too. They showed your spot. Had to go crazy, no?
I was okay. I normally hate getting soaked with beer, especially if I'm sober. But I got hit in the face 5, 6, 7 times after every good thing happened. And I was like, I'll eat it. It's okay.
There you go. Hey, whatever. There's no way that you could bitch about anything that night showing that other than the outcome of the game. The outcome of the game sucked. Freddie Freeman hit a home run. It was unbelievable. We'll talk World Series coming up later in the show, but man, can you imagine being a kid, bases loaded, game 1 of the World Series, and you hit one that is out, and you get to stand there with your bat Oh,